Okay, we are live. I am here with Steve Borock, President of CBCS. And Steve, why don't you just introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Steve Borock, President of CBCS. We grade comic books and encapsulate them. Very happy to be here. So thank you very much for having me on.
Oh, thank you. So I should say that the way that we got introduced was through my dad, Mark Wilson, who I've had on the
Yes.
podcast before. And he lives near you in Texas,
Yes.
right?
We actually
Yeah.
just had dinner with him and Lola.
Oh, okay, nice. Did it go well?
Sure. Yeah, they're great. Fantastic. I mean, I've known your dad for many, many years. What a great guy. I mean,
Yeah.
you're very lucky.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. He's handled more comics than most people. He's been instrumental in finding major collections and moving the hobby forward.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Do you remember when about you met my dad, or at least had some kind of interaction, maybe as a phone call or something?
yeah. I mean, I met him probably through an ad in the old Comic Buyer's Guide.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Um,
yeah. He mentioned that.
sure. And so that had to be like 30 years ago.
Oh wow. Were you a dealer, a collector?
Part-time dealer, mostly collector.
Okay.
Yeah,
What is your
I set up at my first Phil Suling marketplace when I was 12 years old. I'm 58 now. So that gives you kind of an idea, right?
Yeah.
I was only able to afford half a table. I had to
Mm.
set it up with my friend Ricky Feldman. He bought the other half of the table. And if of Mike Carbonaro, he runs the Big Apple Con in New York City. He's been
Yeah, his name sounds familiar.
collectibles. He's been everything. And
Yeah.
back then, I was this kid. He comes by my table, this Mick Jagger looking kind of guy, and he's like, "How much for everything?" And I was this kid, and I was thinking, if I give him 30% off, I can just get out of here today, and buy some comic books. And he was like, "Oh no, I was thinking more like 60% off." I was like,
Oh,
"I
geez.
can't do that," But he's one of the legends in our hobby and one of the mainstays. And it was funny. He doesn't remember meeting me, but I remember meeting him.
Yeah. So what do you like to collect? Do you still collect now?
Well, I stopped collecting comic books when I helped found CGC, our competitor.
Mm-hmm.
So people would know that I was impartial,
Mm-hmm.
completely impartial, because I own some of the best books in the world. I had the Morphin 52 Mile High, Edgar
Oh,
Church
wow.
copy, had the Flash 1 Mile High, Edgar Church copy.
You still have it?
Oh, no. I gave up. I sold most of my comic books when my daughter was born and started CGC.
Oh wow, that's crazy. I did the same. I sold my comic collection when I started this business, selling comic books and stuff like that as a
That's
dealer.
cool. Yeah, and I've owned 2 Action 1s. I mean, I've owned so many books.
Zero.
It's crazy. If
Did
I
you see
held
that
on to
one
them
that?
today, I'd be retired. I wouldn't be working for a living.
Yeah. Did you see that? Was it Action Comics #1? I think it was a 3.0 sold for $1.6 million.
Yeah, the
For a
pricing.
3.0.
The prices have been unbelievable, jumping by leaps and bounds in our hobby. We've never seen a time like this. I don't remember. I mean, it always goes up a little bit, then flat, up, flat, and lately it's just been skyrocketing.
Yeah, my
I
dad.
mean, comic art as well as comic books, and I mean, also being anything certified. Video games, VHS tapes are taking off. It's incredible.
It's just such a weird time that we live in to see this kind of stuff, and yeah, it's interesting. But I want to circle back to, so you were a comic book collector dealer, and then you co-founded CGC, right?
Right. Well, what happened was they were a coin company, right? Certified Collectibles Group.
Yeah.
They were called NGC, and they wanted to get into comic books, and they went to the top dealers and the top collectors in the country and asked who they trusted most and who could do restoration checks and grade correctly and train other people. And I guess I was number one on the list. So they came to me and offered me a job. And I was like, you can't put books in plastic. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
I know. Right? And they showed me what they did with coins and showed me the card company too. They also had a SGC was part of them at the time.
Oh, they branched off?
They branched off and then they came back.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but I'm not in the card world and I don't know enough about it. Yeah. But anyway, they showed me all that. And so then I had to convince the community that this was going to be a great thing.
Oh, I remember those days.
Oh my God, did I get such backlash. This will never work. You're crazy.
You're ruining the hobby.
Yeah, you're ruining the hobby.
Yep.
I had to write so many rebuttals for like Comic Book Marketplace magazine back then because all these guys were like writing horrible stuff, calling us carpetbaggers. I've been in this hobby since I was 12 and I've been reading since I could remember. I'm not carpetbagger.
Do you remember, I don't know if you ever, fantasy, Matt Wilson, my uncle, he did fantasy restoration.
Yeah, sure. I actually he helped me learn how to detect restoration.
Okay. Yeah.
I flew out to Washington for a week.
Oh, okay.
And studied with Matt.
Yeah, that was my uncle. I remember when CGC came out, he hated it because it killed the restoration industry because no one wanted a restored book.
Yeah, I mean, well, that was happening beforehand. There was a lot of us who were collecting only untouched books and paying high dollars for untouched pieces, multiples.
Yeah.
And when CGC came along, the hobby kind of agreed with us and said, hey, it shouldn't be worth anywhere near what an unrestored book is worth. And I still believe that to this day. There's nothing wrong with restoration. It's just the pricing should be different.
Yeah. And it does reflect it. The more restoration, like this book behind me, which is a CBCS Adventure Comics 40, is a 9.6.
Fantastic book.
But it's heavily restored. If it was a 9.6 unrestored,
oh man,
I don't know. It could be maybe $1 million book.
Right. And you wouldn't be able to own it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Some investment group would own it.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's fantastic. I mean, there's nothing wrong with restored books. It's just the pricing had to be right. And what happened in the 80s was that they were restoring books and charging the same price.
Yeah.
And so then somebody had a 9.4 Amazing Fantasy 15 unrestored, and another person had an Amazing Fantasy 15 restored. Back in the 80s, they were paying close to the same price. And it made no sense.
Yeah.
And so now it's taken such a turn. But I think people are coming around to the fact that conservation, especially, not just restoration, but conservation, if there's a spine split, seal it up and it won't get worse. But seal it with something that's archivally safe.
Yeah. But that still gets dinged because it gets a different label. It gets conserved label.
Well, right. With us, we use the same color label.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because we don't want people to stop looking at the book just because of a colored label.
Yeah. And I'll say,
look at the book, look at the label and say, okay, make my own decision. Collectors and hobbyists should make their own decisions.
Yeah.
But they should have a lot of information behind them to help them make that decision. And that's one of the things that, certification helps them do.
Yeah. So you were working for CGC. You worked there for a number of years, and then what happened?
Yeah, I wasn't just working there. I set the grading standards to help design the holder, design the first label and the second label. I trained the graders, some of whom are still working there now. I got kind of burnt out from grading, but also I was really instrumental in bringing this to the forefront, and they weren't going to give me a piece of the company.
Oh, they didn't give nothing?
No. And so I was kind of burnt out, so I left. So for about a year, I just took some time off, relaxed a little bit, sold some comic books and comic art, and then went to work for Heritage.
And what year were you working at Heritage?
Yeah, I worked for Heritage after that.
Or what years were you? I was wondering if you worked there at the same time my dad worked there.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I've been with CBCS for years.
Oh, okay.
Right. And but with Heritage, I brought in millions of dollars worth of comic art and comic books. Actually, their first $10 million auction, I brought in $6 million of that. So they were quite happy.
Do you get bonuses for bringing in stuff, or is it just, I mean, I don't know how it works. My dad never told me, but it's like if you, like, for example, you bring in a $6 million auction, do you get any bonuses for that, or is that's just part of your job?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Okay. Sure. I mean, everybody gets paid for what they do in this hobby.
Yeah.
Unless you're stupid.
Okay, so you worked for Heritage for a number of years as, bringing in stuff for them. I'm assuming you graded over there as well?
I helped with the grading a bit, but mostly I was just bringing in collections.
Okay. So a lot of flying out. And
I was traveling all the time and working conventions all the time, shaking hands and, getting deals. It was fantastic. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. It was stressful, but it was fun.
Yeah. My dad, he worked at when he worked for Heritage, he did the San Diego Comic-Con. So that was the first time I'd seen him in like 5 years.
But wow!
He's like, he's in his mid-60s, and so he's like, it was really hard because he hadn't done this because he retired originally, and so he hadn't done this in a while, and so he wasn't used to standing so long for 12 hours or something, however long the convention is, standing and talking to people. And at the time, video games just started. And so he's like, every question is like, how much is that video game worth? I didn't know they're worth that much.
Yeah, the video games really took off. Valerie at Heritage did a fantastic job leading that division. Valerie Malecki, she's really fantastic. If anybody's looking to get rid of video games, contact Valerie at Heritage.
Okay. I have a couple of video games myself. Cool. So then let's get into your next venture, which is your current venture, CBCS. How did that all start and all that?
Wow. Well, for years, people were taking me out for steak dinners, which I like, and asked me to start a grading service, which I wasn't going to. I just like steak dinners, and I'll listen to anybody who's going to give me a free steak dinner at Smith Walensky's or Morton's or wherever, Gibson's, whatever. But then I got a call from my ex-partner, and he said he was finished with CGC. He wasn't happy with them, and they told him to start his own grading service if he wasn't happy. So he said,
this is the guy that worked at CGC with you, and then
no, he was submitting.
Oh, he was submitting. Oh, submitting.
Right.
Okay.
It was a big submitter. And they said if he wasn't happy, start his own grading service. Well, he wasn't very happy with that answer.
That's a very mean answer.
Yeah. So he called me up, and I said, like everybody else, I'll listen to what you have to say. We spoke for hours. He flew me out to his place, and we spent about 48 hours with very little sleep, seeing what would need to be done to make this happen. It looked good. He said he wanted to go for it. I said I would. The rest, I guess, is kind of history, except the fact that he thought he would be making money from day one.
Ooh.
So when I told him it would take $2.2 million to open, that was just to open. And we weren't getting a lot of money at the beginning, just like any other startup business.
Yeah.
And we were doing very well, but we weren't getting the kind of cash needed to pay for everything.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, he was kind of out of it and said, let's sell it to Beckett. And Beckett has a great name, across. You can't pay for a great name. You have to build
and they have their cards grading service that they've had for a long time.
Right. And the signature verification service.
Yeah.
Right. So we merged with them. It's been fantastic. It's gone gangbusters. I think we're at 27 weeks right now for turnaround time for the low end tiers.
Okay.
And the fast tiers move fast. And if you pay for Fast Pass, it moves fast as well, of course. But it's exploded. Every certification company, I hear our competition is like a year and a half out on low tiers.
Yeah, they're pretty far out.
Yeah. Cards are incredible. PSA and Beckett both stopped taking anything that wasn't high value.
PSA stopped taking anything for a while, like anything at all. And,
I thought they were still taking the 1 days.
I think they might have just done that. And that's how Beckett is. Last time I checked, I checked a while ago, but the last time I checked, Beckett was taking just one tier for sports cards.
Right. Well, they're still taking everything else. They're just not promising a turnaround time.
Oh, okay. Why is that? I'm
so to catch up on the backlog, so we don't screw everybody else that's already submitted.
Okay, so could they just hire more people?
It's really tough to hire, and then it's tough to train. You have to take time to train.
Yeah.
So they were smart. They put a stop on it, and they said, okay, this is getting out of control. Let's make sure it's right. Let's hire, let's train, but let's not take any more submissions unless people are saying they're willing to wait, a year and a half. And some people are still submitting and waiting a year and a half. They don't care. The market is so hot.
I got some cards back. It took me a year and a half.
Beckett. Right. Exactly.
Because I sent a Wayne Gretzky rookie card to PSA, and then they sent it back and charged me and said, we don't grade this card because the way it was cut, they don't know if it was trimmed or not. Yeah, because
they didn't know?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, you're the expert. Because for some reason, that year in hockey by Topps, it was cut very weirdly. Yeah. And so they can't tell the difference if it's trimmed or that was how it was originally manufactured. So they're like, we're not grading it. Simple as that. And then they charged me for it. I'm like,
they charge you for that?
Yeah. So then I get it back and I send it to Beckett. I got him back from Beckett. It took a year and a half. It came back a 6.0, I think, but it got graded.
Yeah, so, they know if it's trimmed or not. These guys.
I know, that's why I pay them. That's their.
Yeah, exactly. I don't send comic books back going, I'm not sure if it has restoration.
Yeah, I know.
I just don't do that.
That's why I pay the $50 or $100, whatever it costs.
Exactly. You're paying for our opinion, and you should get what you paid for.
Yeah. So, but so this is a question I've asked this many times on my channel. How does the hiring process work for a grader? Let's say you put an ad out, I'm assuming, looking for a grader. Do you hire within someone that's proved themselves as like a shipper? Like, how does that work?
Well, there's people that we take in from our company that want to learn. So like I have this young kid, Marlon, right now. He just wants to eat up everything about comic books. And he works in encapsulation. Okay. So he comes in on his own time on Saturdays and sits with me. And he's learning. Eventually he'll be a grader. Okay. Other ways of hiring is somebody like Scott McAdam. I ran into him at a convention in Dallas when I moved here. I knew him from West Coast conventions. He had moved here. He was looking for a job. I hired him, trained him. I didn't have to do a whole lot of training. And he's a pre-grader.
Okay. And what is the process in training someone? Do you just teach them, they grade a bunch of books, and then the closer they get to what the actual grade is, then they're ready, kind of thing?
Kind of. Yeah, there's a lot more to it. It's, there's a lot going on. But at the end of the day, they sit with graders, finalizers, the top people like Wes Steffen or Daniel Ertl, myself. And we show them why we're doing different defects, grading them different ways. We give them the grading guide, of course, and we tell them throw out about 25% of it. And it's a great guide. It's fantastic. It's just not meant for certification.
Yeah. So I've always wondered this. How many books typically does an average grader have to grade in, whatever a shift is, 8 hours, 6 hours, whatever their daily shift is?
Oh, there's no set number, because if I get a box and it's full of Golden Age books and they have restoration and I have to, count the pages and check out, every leaf to see if it's been, if there's been pieces added, or if there's what's the word I'm looking for? I'm so sorry. I should know this.
Leaf casting?
Well, that's the pieces added, of course.
Yeah.
But I want reinforcement.
Oh.
So you have to check the staples, on the third wrap, just in case, that kind of stuff. It takes a long time. But then I get a bunch of do you poos, and I can knock them out in no time. They're like 9.8, 9.9s, 10s.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what books you have in front of you.
So what would you say, just if you had to ballpark it, like 100 books?
I think we're doing about 5,000 books a week.
That's how many books you're doing a week?
Wow. Finalizing. Getting out the door. So
a grader will do like maybe 100 a day?
Yeah, maybe. Well, if it's 5,000 divided by 5, that's 1,000 a day. 3 finalizers, 325 a day.
Dang.
It's a long day.
Because when I have to grade like a collection that comes in, I'm just grading it, just like everything kind of just like, ugh, like it just all melds together at some point.
Yeah, I think, once you're doing it professionally and you know what you're supposed to look for, it moves a lot faster.
Yeah.
But you're right. When I was grading for myself as a seller, I was taking a lot more time. I was like, oh, is this 7.5 or an 8? Oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't want to sell it wrong,
And then you're just like sitting there as like the whole time just trying to figure out 7 and 8, and then I'll like go online and look at other 7.5s and 8s and like try to figure out, and they're like, well, this one looks nicer, but this one looks worse.
Yeah, and you can't judge the last book.
Yeah.
And compare it to the next book.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. You have to like clear your brain the second you leave that book and move on to the next book.
You know what my dad's philosophy is? I don't know if this still holds true. This was when CGC was new. So I'm talking early 2000s.
Yeah, sure.
He would, if he wanted to get a grade bump on a certain book, say it's an expensive book. Say he had like a Spider-Man 1. Right. And he looked at it's like a 7.0. He was hoping to get an 8.0. What he would do was he would put worse looking books in front. So when they came to the 8.0 or the 7.0 Spider-Man 1, they go, wow, this looks really nice. That was his. I don't know if it's true.
Yeah, no, I think that worked back in the day. It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, that was his philosophy. It was funny. He'd be like, I'll put a bunch of like 4.0s and 3.0s in front, and then they get to the 7.0 and they're like, wow, this is so nice. It's got to be an 8.0. But it's really
right. I can see certain guys doing that. Sure. But I mean, like I said, you have to forget the last book you saw. That's really important.
Yeah. So CBCS is doing pretty good with Beckett and all that kind of stuff. How bad? Because I know this affected everyone differently, but how bad did the pandemic affect the grading industry? And also, you being in Texas is a different state with different rules and stuff. Like how?
Yeah, Texas is crazy. I mean, to tell you the truth, I think the virus has more rights than women here. To be honest.
That's funny.
But the pandemic definitely hurt us. We closed down for a while, of course. And people have been out with COVID, and it's terrible. It's a horrible time we're going through right now in our country. and it's definitely affecting every business. It's also affected a huge amount of stuff like cardboard and plastic. Shipping times are taking a lot longer. Plastics and cardboard in the last year have gone up 3 times. We're probably going to raise prices soon.
Yeah,
we haven't raised prices in 5 years, but we're getting killed because of the plastics and the cardboard and shipping, and everything's gone up. It's crazy. So get your books in quicker before the price goes up.
Yeah. Now, what about from the business side? Did you have a hard time with people leaving? Was maybe some of the backing up that happened was people left during the peak of the pandemic and then didn't come back to work or something like that? Or
no, actually everybody stayed, which was fantastic.
That's
and
nice.
the CBCS side was
Okay.
unbelievable. But we had a small crew. We have a much bigger crew. We've been hiring like crazy. It's been fantastic. Like I said, I've been training a lot of people. Turn time should get down much better soon. But I refuse to let them finalize until they're ready. I don't want to go, well, they're 90% there and we need the help, so let's just throw them to the wolves. Yeah. No, I want them to be 99% there, because that 1%, everybody makes a mistake somewhere. No matter how good you are, you're human. Every business makes a mistake. It happens. Yeah. But, we really want to make sure that they're trained up well enough that I'm happy knowing that the books they're putting out there would be the same grade I would put on.
Now, you are the president, so do you still do grading?
Oh, yeah, I grade all day long.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the difference is I have, executive positions, so I'm in a lot of meetings. I deal with PR. I deal with advertising. I deal with setting standards for different things in the company when we have changes, dealing with, we had the new case, which is fantastic, right? So, I was brought on board to help with that. So there's a lot of different hats I wear during the day, but most of my time is spent grading and training graders.
Cool. So you're still in the trenches, basically.
Oh, yeah. I love playing with comic books. I have the greatest job in the world. Do
you still get comics that cross your path that you're like, wow, I haven't seen this in a while, or something like that?
Exactly. Absolutely. I just did what book was it? It was a Famous Funnies where the guy goes to hell on the cover. And I was like, this is so cool. So I took a picture of it on my desk and posted on my Instagram. By the way, people can follow me on Instagram under Steve Borock. I post comic books all the time. So kind of be fun. But yeah, I enjoy it. I stop with that book, I take a picture of it, I put it right on Instagram and Facebook.
and then I put a letter in there offering the owner. If they want to
right? Sure. But I always say I love my gig afterwards, because I really do.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I love comics. Obviously, it's work sometimes. I'm like, I don't want to be doing this, but
in the end, everything's work. Yeah. I always say that if work was good, the rich would have kept it for themselves.
So when I had kind of curious back to the Beckett thing, when Beckett took over, or did Beckett more fund you guys to take you kind of a series round of funding, or did they just buy you out, or did you guys make kind of a split, or how did that work exactly? Did you take a percentage of the whole Beckett company, or is it considered kind of its own thing just under the Beckett brand?
It's its own division under the Beckett's brand.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering how that works, because I'm like, well, Beckett's been around for a long, because I used to buy the Beckett magazine for sports cards.
Sure, it's still around.
So I was like, okay, so they either bought them out or something. I was just kind of curious on that front. So one thing I want to talk about is kind of controversial issue was the verification process of signatures.
Sure.
And so there was a video online where a guy basically forged a signature of an artist and then got it passed. Yes.
Sure.
So do you know, like, maybe the process? Because I know you guys use Beckett's great verification of signature, whatever they have. Is there like a certain process they have or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, these guys are the best. I mean, they really are. But it doesn't matter how good you are. Something's always going to get through occasionally, you know, at the end of the day. And what they did, this person picked Sarah Pacelli's signature because it changes so much. And it's easy to do.
And it's a simple one. It's a very simple one.
So that could get past anybody, and they picked somebody whose signature doesn't sell very well. They didn't do Stan Lee. They didn't do Jack Kirby, right? These, you know, Jack Kirby's and Stan Lee's fail more than they pass. You know, there's so many forgeries out there. It's incredible.
Yeah, there was a documentary I watched on sports cards where this racket found these, I don't know what they were, forgeries or artists, and they would sign Mickey Mantle everything. Yeah. And so like pretty much 90% of the stuff out there that's Mickey Mantle and, you know, whatever, you know, Jackie Robinson and stuff like that, it's all fake.
That's what I've been told. Yeah. And
the so FBI cracked down on that.
Right. These guys have to be super careful, and they are. I mean, there's things that they've failed where I go, I've seen this signature all my life. This one looks good to me. But then they can tell me, like, well, there's a little dip here that's not in the other signatures. And I'm like, oh, man, I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
You know, and also real signatures can still fail because if the guy coughs during the signature or the person's talking to him,
he's distracted,
signing, and distracts them, their signature could look a little different. Stan Lee's signature was changing so badly, especially towards the end of his life when they were pushing him. It was a horrible thing they did to him.
Yeah.
This is manager Max was pushing him. I was watching Stan Lee fall asleep signing. It was horrible what they did to this man. And
I don't know why.
So much.
Yeah, I don't know why they like forced this guy to do signatures.
Oh, it's pure greed. Pure greed and arrogance. It's terrible. I mean, Stan did so much for our hobby. I'm on the board of Hero Initiative.
Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about that.
Right. And that's heroinitiative.org if anybody really cares.
You guys do those. The first time I came into it was you'll get a blank cover and you'll do a bunch of artists, big name artists. They all draw their version of that comic, like it's Walking Dead, Turtles, whatever it is.
Spider-Man was the first one, sure.
And then you guys auction it off, and they sell for you know, sometimes 10,000 or more if it's a big artist.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, you know, if you get Adam Hughes to do it, then it sells for stupid money. It's fantastic. And it's one of the reasons that we have the original art label as opposed to a graded label. So what people can do, like, it's a piece of art, and the artist, you know, drew on this book. What do you care if it's a 6.5 and not a 9.8? It's a piece of art. It's one of a kind. That's why so we have the art label, so people can pick that instead of the grade.
That's nice.
And it's just original art, and it says that the artist drew it, that it's authentic, and you don't have to have it graded, but it's still in a holder with a nice label, and you know it's authentic.
Yeah. That's very cool that you do. So how did you come up with that? And give me more details about the Hero Initiative. Like, what does it do? What is its goal?
So Hero Initiative is a charity that gives back to those that made our hobby and that need help. So when creators are in need, we pay for hospitals, we pay for medicine, we pay for housing, we pay for whatever needed, food. it's incredible. We've helped so many people. And like I said, Stan Lee was really, really big on it and used to sign for the Hero Initiative quite a bit.
Okay.
It was great working with Stan. It was, a childhood dream for me. But at the same time, it was unbelievable to watch this man who wanted to help the hobby. And he was always on in front of people. He was like right with it. Then you bring him to the green room and he turned into a 90-year-old man, just lied down the couch and was like, I'm done for the day.
Really interesting.
Yeah, it was crazy. But like until he opened that green room door, he was right on. He was like waving to everybody and saying Excelsior. And then the door would close and he was done. I felt bad for him, but he did so much for us. And the Hero Initiative, Jim McLaughlin is the president. He's been in the hobby for a long time. He started it because they had something. He's a baseball fan. And him and Mark Alessi were talking at a baseball game saying, well, they have this for old baseball players. Why don't we have this for the creators in comics? That, they didn't even make anything near what baseball players did.
Yeah.
And they brought it to fruition and it took off like crazy. We've been helping people for many, many years now. Yeah, I'm really proud to be part of it. I feel honored to be part of it.
Yeah. And like a lot of people don't know, but like older creators, not only did they not get the rights to their creation, like Bill Finger with Batman, but Bill Finger, for example, died alone in a tiny little apartment.
And we don't want to see that happening.
Yeah.
It's wrong. It's just plain wrong. If you want to be a good human being, you help people.
And same with the creators of Superman.
Oh, absolutely. Look, they had a fight forever.
Yep.
It was more their family. Neil Adams fought for them for like crazy.
One of the biggest superheroes. And you're pretty much penniless because, the big corporations like, well, we want everything. And so they push the little guy to the side.
Yep. It's most corporations in America. It's a shame.
Yeah.
So that's why we do charity work. It's important. We have to help each other on this planet.
It's very nice that you're doing the Hero Initiative. I think I went to the Turtles auction and got something. Yeah. We got something from the Turtles one where they did the Hero Initiative. So it was very nice. Very cool.
So if anybody wants to, even if you donate $1, if everybody donated $1, you can just go to the website, heroinitiative.org, donate $1. It helps because there's thousands and thousands of us.
Yes.
And we should give back. I always say, and I've said this before on other shows, if I was willing to take charity, if I ever needed it, then I should give it the minute I can.
Yes.
I think it's very important. If you're willing to take it, you might as well give it while you have it.
Yes, I agree. So kind of back to CGC and CBCS and stuff like that. I'm kind of curious, as a company, as CBCS, what challenges do you have with when you're faced against someone as big as CGC?
Well, it's really nice. Actually, it's it's a challenge. They're the first ones in. First ones in usually gets the lion's share.
And they got bought out for like $500 million. Their parent company did.
Sure. And they have more books on the market than we'll have, especially vintage. But the nice thing is we have the modern market, and we still do quite a bit of vintage. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I just did that Famous Funnies. I just did a Captain America 1 the other day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. But they're not making any vintage comic books anymore.
Nope.
So if you want to stay in business, you should focus on the stuff that's new.
Yes.
And we have that. And we do very, very well with our pricing on that stuff. mycomicshop.com has been phenomenal for us. Buddy Saunders, is one of the first in fandom. Phenomenal gentleman. lives here in Texas. We have a great relationship with them. Their auctions lately have been more CBCS than CGC, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I know they have their own. Yeah, they have their own auctions on their website.
Yeah, they do fantastic. I mean, it's an amazing operation. I was blown away by Buddy's operation. They ship out, I think, 1,000 packages a day. It's incredible.
That is insane. So I'm kind of curious, what are your thoughts? Because you are not the second grading company in this field.
There was no, we're the second grading company. We're the third one calling ourselves a grading company.
because there's PGX that's been around for quite a while, actually.
Right. If PGX was any good, we wouldn't have had a foothold in.
Yeah.
These guys were buying and selling their own books, faking signatures, overgrading books for certain people, for themselves.
And I have this conversation. Yeah, I have this conversation with people that comment like, well, why? Because some people are new and they don't know anything and they don't know the difference, and they just look at how much it costs and they go, well, what's the difference between PGX and say CBCS, you know? And so I try to explain to them the pitfalls of, you know, PGX, and then, you know, some people have used them like, oh, they're better now and stuff. I'm like,
yeah. I mean, the bottom line is they don't have any experts. Name them.
I think, isn't it just like maybe three people, like two main people?
I think so, yeah. It's just, they don't have any experts. Never did.
Yeah, and they've been around for almost as long as CGC.
Sure, I have one PGX book I got in a deal when I left CGC, and I was buying and selling comic books for that year. And it's a PGX book, and I kept it. It's a Black Knight Atlas book. And the corner goes black, brown, black. But there was a crease. And somebody took a black pen and put it through it. So you could see the black line through the brown. So, I mean, that's how bad it is.
Yeah. There's also another company. There's a couple of them. There's like Vault, Halo, EGS. There's a bunch of them.
And these guys just, you know, they think that it's easy.
Yeah.
It's not.
And that's why I'm curious. I'm like, how much does it cost to start up? Because I imagine, like you said, it was like a $2 million startup.
Sure.
I'm like, how do these other people have all this money to start up? Like,
well, they don't. That's the thing. They don't hire professionals. They don't spend the money to hire the right people. They just say they can do it on their own, and then you can do something like PGX, where you're buying and selling your own books.
Yeah,
and that's not right.
That. Yeah, that isn't right. So I'm assuming then you don't really collect much anymore because you're so.
I don't collect comics. I still read them. I just buy trades. I'm a comic junkie.
Oh, okay.
Right now I'm reading Black Hammer. It's fantastic. It's a lot of fun. Okay. Yeah, and but I collect the history of our hobby. So I own things like old convention programs. I have Marvel Mania stuff. I have unopened boxes of the wax packs of the Marvel cards from the 70s and stuff. And
do you have any of those Superman cards?
No, I don't collect the Superman cards for some reason. I gravitated towards Marvel for that.
Oh, I have a near complete set of
Superman wow
cards. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, I was gonna send them to get graded.
Not just gonna take a year and a half though, right?
Yeah, that was the issue. So I was looking around to figure out and it's just like, because Beckett got rid of and PSA got rid of their tiers, it costs like $100 a card. I'm like, well, some of these cards are only worth like maybe $100. So
exactly. Right. I mean, you have to pick and choose what you're going to send in right now. I mean, all the certification services have exploded, and there's no way to get around it.
Now, do you think because more people, it happened because of this massive boom, and it wasn't just comics; it was cards like Pokemon cards, everything. Do you think that once all this stuff starts coming back, it's going to flood the market and hurt the market?
No, absolutely not. The market's eating up everything that's coming out. It's insane. I've never seen anything like this in my life.
I know it's very weird.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we've come into our own.
Now, I had a couple questions about the future of comic books because
I don't have a crystal ball, so
yeah, no one does. No. But I was reading an article, Captain Marvel Adventures #1 from 1941. It was a Joe
number
Simon.
2, right?
What?
Number 2.
No, that's Wiz Comics #2.
Captain Marvel. Sorry, Captain Marvel. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Captain Marvel Adventures #1. I think it was Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. Was the art
cover? No, it's a CC Beck.
Is this not the? I thought maybe Joe Simon and Jack Kirby were the interior.
You know what? It's been a long time since I did any research, but I could swear it was CC Beck.
Maybe like the cover. He always did the covers and stuff like that. But in any case,
was Fawcett, and he was working for Timely at the time.
Yeah, maybe. For some reason, I thought I don't know. I'll have to research it. But in any case, that sold 14 million copies. Now, the most recent top-selling comic book was King Spawn #1 because Todd McFarlane had this special variant that everyone wanted. So they bought a ton, and it sold like 500,000 copies, and that was the most in the last 2 decades or something like that.
Sure. And if you look at when TV hit America, comic sales started going down.
I mean, I know TV was around in like the 20s and 30s, but I'm thinking when it actually
the 50s,
mainstream.
The 50s.
The 50s was when it like mainstream.
Yeah.
Where most people had it and stuff like that.
And comic books started going down. Kids were in front of the TV set. They weren't in front of a comic book, which is terrible because it helped kids learn how to read.
Yeah.
And TV did not.
No. Now, probably in like during Marvel's heyday, Silver Age, I mean, were they selling like 1 million copies of Spider-Man back then?
I don't think they ever reached anywhere near the golden age. I mean, Marvel was broke, and that's why they went to superheroes. And basically, Stan Lee was told, like, "Hey, look at this. The Justice League is doing well, and Brave and Bold 28, whatever. You should think about doing superheroes." Now, if you think about it, Stan was scared. He wasn't 100% sure it would work. If you look at Fantastic Four #1, there's no costumes on them.
Nope.
There's no costumes until #3. The Hulk #1 was a monster magazine more than anything else because monster and sci-fi was big at the time. Same thing with Fantastic Four #1. It's a giant monster on the cover, right? And Spider-Man was put into Amazing Fantasy 15, which was a horror magazine.
Yeah.
Right? And
they're canceling it anyways. They're canceling Fantasy 15. That was going to be the last issue.
Right. And so they were like, let's throw this in there and see if it sticks. And they even had to put Fantastic Four on the cover of Spider-Man #1 to help it sell.
Yeah.
Who knew that Spider-Man would outsell the Fantastic Four many years later? But you remember, Fantastic Four was called the world's greatest comic magazine, right?
Yeah.
on the cover. But and then Thor, if you look at Journey to Mystery 83, it's a bunch of space creatures coming to fight this god of thunder.
Yeah.
So they kind of phased it slowly from sci-fi and horror into superheroes. And where DC was like, let's do Showcase 4, Flash, make a new Flash, boom, But Marvel made it a soap opera. Stan Lee understood that people wanted more to the story, more meat. And that's what happened. That's what really took off. And Jim Shooter did that at DC much later with Legion. But it was much later.
Yeah.
And Marvel, became king.
And then, yeah. So what about currently? Because now comics, like an average Spider-Man book, it sells about 100,000 copies, and that's like the top.
Yeah.
It's been going down. And then, you have other comics, you could have like a Hulk, maybe not the Immortal Hulk run, but a normal Hulk, selling in the 30s to maybe 50,000 copies. Do you think the future of, what do you think, because you're in the grading business, so what do you think the future of comic books will be? Are they just going to continue to go down in units sold? Like, how do you think that's
actually, I think they've gone up lately, which is great. And then you have the digital comics, which people are reading.
Yeah.
So actually, I think that it's going to stay stable for a while.
Okay.
But who knows what the future brings? Like I said, I don't have a crystal ball. And I'm not smart enough to answer that question. The smartest people I know what they don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Yeah. I'm always curious about that. I get that question a lot, and it's, I know it's going down, but I mean, there's still comics that sell a ton. I think one of the reasons why some of the numbers look bad is because they have so many titles now compared to.
They're putting out too many titles as well.
Like the New 52
and the
is
crossovers are crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So you'll have these titles that sell like 5,000 copies on a DC or Marvel line. It's like, well, you have too many. Like,
Yeah. But then they put out something like Batman Damned, and it'll sell through the roof. Right?
Yeah. I went to the comic store and picked that one up.
Ah, nice. And we're seeing a bunch of Star Wars books. I mean, Star Wars is crazy. I mean, we're getting so many copies of Star Wars Darth Vader 3, the first Dr. Aphra. But I mean, so many Star Wars books are coming past my desk. Unbelievable amounts.
Well, Star Wars is really popular now with the Mandalorian TV show and Book of Boba.
And it's a real piece of history. I mean, it came out in 1977. And it was the first comic book movie that didn't have a comic book before it.
Yes.
It wasn't written for comics. It was written as a movie.
Yeah.
Even though the first issue came out before the movie. Right?
George Lucas was a master of marketing.
Oh, yeah.
He had toy line, everything. He's like,
yeah.
He told the studio, I don't want a cut of the movie. Give me all the merchandising.
Exactly. Him and Jack Nicholson, they were very smart. Nicholson did the same thing with Batman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he made a fortune.
But they're already rich. That's the funny thing. Is like they're already rich.
Money attracts money.
Yeah. So a couple.
I'd like to be rich one day. It'd be nice.
Yeah, I know. Well, you can sell CBCS to BlackRock. That's the company that bought.
No, but Beckett owns us.
Well, Beckett can sell to BlackRock.
I'm just a working stiff, man.
He could sell to Beckett can sell to Blackstone or BlackRock.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way to get rid of the competition.
Yeah. Yeah. So a couple things for all those who've waited this long. Steve Borock is giving out a 10% promo code to all grading fees if you send it before the end of the month. So we're in February, so as long as
it has to be postmarked before the end of the month.
Postmarked sometime in February, 10% off all grading fees. All you got to use is in the promo code Comic Book Investments. That's all you got to do. 10% off grading fees. And also you have a giveaway, right?
Yes. We have a Scottie Young signed blank variant, Rocky Raccoon. I'm sorry about the glare. It's a 9.8. And it's signed by Scottie Young. And I'm going to let you give it out to your people the way you feel like doing it.
So all you got to do is just leave a comment in the comments of this video saying that you want it, and I will find you, randomly select a winner, and then I will message you and give you my email. You email me your address so no one else knows, and I will get that book out to you. And then a couple things. You have some signings coming up.
Oh, yeah. We got right now you can send in for signings for Jerry Conway, of course, writer of The Death of Gwen Stacy. He did The First Punisher, creator of Firestorm, etc. Right? We have Simon Bisley. His work is huge. Lobo, Judge Dredd, Batman, Judge Dredd.
He was a UK.
Casey and Jones, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He did with Kevin Eastman.
Yeah, right? He was a UK artist and worked on heavy metal. And then Kevin Eastman bought Heavy Metal magazine and loved his art and brought him more over. Yeah,
exactly. And then we have Jim Steranko, who needs no introduction, whether it's Nick Fury, Hulk Annual 1, Captain America, X-Men. The guy was, Jim is a good friend. I
love his art.
He's such a nice man. Unbelievable. I didn't want to bother him at a convention that we were both at. Our tables were across from each other, but he had a big line. And I didn't want to bother him. I wanted to say hello to him, but I figured I'd, wait. And he comes up to my table. He's like, "Hey, idiot, you don't say hello to me?" I was cracking up. I was like, "You left your booth just to say hello to me." That was so sweet. He is the nicest man. But we also have other signings coming up. If you go to our website, go to the signing event page, and you can go to that by clicking on the top left corner of our website, and it'll show you more signings that are coming up. Cool. We have some big names coming up. I can't announce them yet because we haven't finished signing on the dotted line.
Okay. And so it will be a location at probably a convention or comic shop or something like that?
No. People send the books in to us.
Oh, okay. So you send
all the information's on our website.
Oh, got it.
Signing pages.
Oh, interesting. So they'll send it to you. They'll be signed by, Jim Steranko or whatever, and then verified and all
by us.
Oh, interesting. Very cool.
Should be fantastic. And we have a lot of stuff coming up. If you'd like to have me back on again at the end of the first quarter, we're gonna have some big news. I can't share it yet. It's still in the works, but we have a lot of big stuff coming up.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to have you back on. A couple other things. You have magazine grading coming up.
Yes, should be the end of March. Okay. So we'll be able to do oversized books and magazines and signatures as well on those.
Are you ever going to do video games?
Right now, no. I think Wada's doing a good job. There's other people coming in.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with comics. I'm not sure what Beckett's plans are, but right now there's no major push for video games.
Okay, cool.
And I've been starting to invest in VHS tapes because that's coming along now.
I've been thinking about that. I'm like, because they're cheap, you can get them now, and I'm like, is there a market for it?
There's a big market. There really is already. It's just certification will blow it up.
Or is it just investors investing, hoping?
No, these guys are collectors. I mean, the guys I've been talking to. I'm the investor, right?
Okay.
But I've been talking to these people, and they've been doing it for 10 years. I mean, it's incredible. And trying to find a sealed, factory sealed, not resealed, VHS tape in good shape is really tough. And you can't get that kind of media anymore.
Yeah.
It's all streaming.
Yeah.
Right? So it's kind of cool. I don't know if DVDs are next. I'm not sure.
I feel like DVDs are more mass produced than VHSs. So
yeah, VHS was mass produced for a long time. I mean, Blockbuster lived on it.
Yeah.
They just weren't smart enough to get into streaming.
Yeah. That's the poor Blockbuster. But
the sign on Blockbuster says going out of business. And the back of it says, "Welcome to Netflix."
Yeah. There's actually one Blockbuster left in Oregon.
No way.
Yeah, it's called The Last Blockbuster. It's an actual blockbuster. People go there and literally rent movies. It's all the exact same. There's a documentary all about it. I think it's on Netflix or something.
Oh, that's hysterical. I bet it's on Netflix. That's great.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting. It's still around. So it's funny because she, in the documentary, the lady that owns it, she had to fight to keep the rights to the name Blockbuster, because Blockbuster, the name, was actually bought by some telecommunications company in like Spain. What? And so she has to like every year she has to like beg them to like, can I keep this name just for this one Blockbuster? You know.
Wow.
So, but still
that's
around.
Wild. That's so cool.
Yep, you can go to it. It's in Bend, Oregon, or Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah, I when I was young in my hippie days, I went to Eugene, Oregon. Probably not going back.
All right, man. It was fun talking to you, hearing a ton of insight. It was great. I'm sure the people will love this. And yeah, so thanks for coming on.
Yeah, people should come to cbcscomics.com and check out the website. It's how you can submit. We have a very easy submission process, really easy. And if people want, they can reach out to us through CBCS customer service at cbcscomics.com. And they can reach out to us, and if they have questions and not sure, we'll be more than happy to help them.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you. And
oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure and a privilege, man. Thanks so much. And you have a great dad. Fantastic.
Yeah, I do.
He's just a great guy, and thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. All right.
You're welcome.
See you later, everyone.
Take care, everybody.